We are here with our fourth installment of Inside the Lair. I'm joined alongside alumnus and current baseball coach, Jonathon Ramos. He's also an assistant basketball coach for our Panthers squad. Coach, thank you for joining us.
And thank you for having me, John. Appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. And great to have you aboard. So let's get right into it. You went to BMCC from 2011 to 2012, an associate's in criminal justice. What drove you to attend BMCC?
It was definitely a place where I felt like I can take the time to rebuild myself. I didn't feel prepared for college coming out of high school, to be totally honest. I had ambitions of joining the military at the time. A friend of mine at the time honestly suggested I should give college a try and, see how I'd go for a year. And I thought BMCC would be a great place. It was very welcoming and a place where I thought I can still work on myself and not have so much pressure and still be close to home,
When I had Raybon Fleming back in July, he's going to go to York College. He kind of reiterated the same things that you're mentioning to me. He mentioned that people really have not the right view of community college. And what he told me, I wanted to fire this question at you. Do you feel that BMCC helped improve yourself in that 2 years? You just mentioned to me you didn't feel you were ready for a 4-year school, but in 2 years you wanted to better yourself. And clearly it did that for you.
Yeah, so at the time, while I was at BMCC, I was able to bring my grades up to a place where, honestly, today I could be like, I'm very proud. I was on the dean's list while I was there, and that was something that was huge to me. Funny story, actually, I didn't know much about what the dean's list was at the time, and when I got the letter from the school mentioning that I was on the dean's list, I kind of hid it from people because I thought I was in trouble. And it was actually something positive that my baseball coach was like, man, this is great. Like, you're like one of the only guys on the dean's list of that flex program. I was like, oh, this is not bad. And he's like, no, this is good. I was like, wow. So actually BMCC, helped me strive for some new goals, made me feel like I can work harder. And it was a place where I got a lot of help, honestly. It gave me the time to take it at my pace and learn and get motivated to learn more.
We're here with head coach and BMCC alum of 2012, Jonathon Ramos, here on our fourth installment of Inside the Lair. Talk about the professors at the school. I mean, you said the dean's list. Normally, I grew up with it being called the honor roll. I wish that said dean's list, but I mean, you talked about your first goal of going to BMCC. You said, I just want to better myself academically, get myself prepared. When you put in all the work and the support you get from the professors, that's got to be really rewarding when you get on the dean's list.
It was very rewarding, honestly. Some of my professors definitely were tough, but in a helpful way. They gave me opportunities, and I'm very thankful for it, because sometimes you need that extra push to find out what's on the other side, that breakthrough. Sometimes you need someone to push you. They were very accommodating and very helpful and very understanding. They didn't treat me differently because I was an athlete. They didn't judge me, because sometimes you do get that professor that like assumes that you're trying to get by because you're an athlete or things of that nature, but they challenged me and they treated me like a student, and they helped me get to the next level, which was prepare for a 4-year university, which when I was there, it was very helpful. I knew how to hold my own. I knew how to write better, read better, get things done on time, be responsible. They held me very accountable, and I thank them for that.
Joined here on our fourth installment of Inside the Lair with head coach of the baseball team here, Jonathon Ramos. Well, Coach, one of the things I did during this offseason, and I wish I would have had a chance to see your baseball season, but it was canceled, was I got the opportunity to update the record books. And through the record books, found out a lot of information, including the first year really that you had played at BMCC. And, try this on a recruiting visit. You played catcher, but you had an infield with two guys that hold the program's all-time record for hits, with Stanley De La Cruz, and then Harry Santiago, who can steal a ton of bases, 54 in his total career. I think De La Cruz, if I have it right here, in career hits all time, 72, and doubles 15, triples with 9. What was it like to have an infield like that? And also from a catching standpoint, must have made you feel good trying to throw out runners.
Yeah, I mean, well, those guys were phenomenal players. Honestly, starting with Harry Santiago, he was a unorthodox first baseman. So he played first base and he stole that many bags. And the kid could stroke the ball, he could hit the ball very well, and he can just run. He was just the fastest guy on the team, and it was great because that helped me and helped all of us because it pushed us all to work on our speed, run faster. We raced every day at practice, so it definitely pushed us. And he was a good guy, very good guy, nice guy. He came to practice every day, had a lot of integrity, worked really hard. He never made excuses. And then a guy on the other side of the infield, which, Stanley De La Cruz was a huge part of the program. He played shortstop for us on some days, and on some days he played third base. And, he just never let us down. Those two guys were phenomenal. Stanley, you can always count on him to hit the ball. He was just always truly invested in what was best for the team. These guys worked their tails off to get us to where, as far as we made it that year. And without those guys, I don't think we could have made it as far because those guys, they were big parts of our team. They were the glue to our team. They kept us together, and it was just very competitive, but a big brotherhood. We were always together. We looked out for each other, but we came to work every day.
Now I'm going to give you one on either one, but Stanley De La Cruz to get 72 hits for your career. Listen, if this is college baseball, we're not talking about Pete Rose here in the hall, but at the same time, I mean, you're swinging a lot because clearly they were your offensive key people. But Stanley De La Cruz, to have that many doubles, program all-time lead 15, 9 triples, and then, of course, 72 hits. He clearly had some insights on how to read pitchers, put the ball in play. I mean, did he pass on anything to you?
Me and Stanley De La Cruz would spend at least like 3 hours a day in the batting cages every single day. He was my best friend at the time, and we were really close, and we just worked really hard every day. He would never take no for an answer, and he was experienced. He played a ton of baseball. He was a strong guy. He came from George Washington High School. He was a heads-up baseball player, the epitome of hard work, honestly.
You've been now 6 years with this baseball program, so you'll actually tie into one of your other former players. But Harry Santiago, program's all-time leader in steals. You had a kid set a single-season mark at Maximo Garcia. What did Harry teach you about stealing bases? What did he pass on to you that you were able to pass on to Maximo to be so dominant in the season that he had there?
Just take risks, take risks, and don't be scared. Harry, that was his big thing. He was a humble guy, but he was fearless, honestly, out there. He played with a lot of heart, and we were able to transfer that to Max, and he was able to reflect that on the field. Max was a stud for us. He played his heart out every day. He ran fast. He took advantage of his speed. As the year went on, he got better at reading pitchers, and he took great jumps. He just worked on it every day, honestly. That kid loves stealing bases, so he took advantage of who he can when he can.
I grew up watching Ricky Henderson. I got yelled at once because obviously I went to a Hall of Fame thing in college. My mom was like, "Why did you skip class?" I said, "It's Ricky Henderson." Again, at the end of the day, that's the whole thing about stealing bases. It's a skill, getting a jump on a pitcher. And now you were behind the plate. I want to take it from the catcher's perspective here. What's your process towards throwing out stealing players? Because first of all, you got to obviously have good communication with your pitcher.
Yes.
Okay. And also, I think it also affects your throws. If you have a sinker ball pitcher or an off-speed pitcher, that's also difficult because once that guy gets the jump, it's better to have the ball in the air. Or do you prefer, if it's on the ground, you can make the throw? What works better for you?
Back then, we just tried to keep it very simple, I spent a lot of time with the pitchers. We spent a lot of time just hanging out, just talking baseball because there's a process, there's a process of getting to know each other. You want to know the guy. You want to know what his tendencies are. You want to know what his favorite pitches are. You want to know how to calm him down. And then you got to keep him focused because if he can't hold the runner, you have no shot, So he's got to be just devoted to getting that guy out just as you are, And at the same time, he's got a guy at the plate that he doesn't want to make any mistakes with. So I'd say that team there was very fearless. They had a lot of heart, a lot of guts. and we just went for it. We knew already every time after the first couple games of like what our plan was. We had our sign system down. Our communication was just very important, and it was on point. So it was great. Without them, I would have not been able to control the run game the way I did at that time.
Here with our fourth installment of Inside the Lair with head baseball coach and BMCC alumnus, Jonathon Ramos. Coach, thank you for joining us. Well, I mentioned Maximo Garcia, but you've had your fair share of pretty darn good hitters on your team, too, over the years. We can go through all of them. I don't know if we'll have time, but obviously one that was quite good, and he's also up there in career wins as a pitcher, was Christopher Rodriguez. Talk about him, because he played 1 year, then he took a year off. It still was able to be very productive, although his first year, 2017, even though that team didn't have that many wins, that was a pretty good hitting team. Talk about him a little.
Yeah, well, Christopher, another guy who came from George Washington High School, phenomenal hitter, phenomenal athlete, honestly, just super raw talent. He's gotten better over the years. He continued to progress over that time that he even took off. I can't say much. He's just such a great player. He could hit the ball, throw the ball, catch the ball. That guy literally played every position for us that year. You can put him anywhere and he'd make the plays. He was a baseball player. He was a true athlete. The guy can really play. He was getting the ball up there to like low 90s on certain days. He put on some great pitching performance for us, and then went out there and put on some great hitting performances at the plate as well. He can do both. He worked really hard, and he had a really, being an athlete, a student athlete is hard, going to school, going to work, and then going to practice and then showing up to games. It can be tough in New York City. And he did a tremendous job of handling that. And it showed because it reflected in his work.
Here with our fourth installment of Inside the Lair with BMCC alumnus and head baseball coach John Ramos. Thank you for joining us, Coach. You have mentored 8 CUNY All-Stars. The previous season, before this one was canceled, you had Juan Martinez, Andy Ventura, 2 really talented young players. They weren't scheduled to play this year, but hopefully we could see them again. The Bronx seems to be the most dominant team in your conference. In our interview with the NCAA forward, you said you're in touch with PSAL high school coaches and to get players into BMCC. What's the challenge with competing with the Bronx?
The difference between BCC and KCC versus BMCC and QCC is that they have fields in their backyards. So that's why literally their field is a minute off their campus. Like you could walk outside the gym and walk onto their baseball fields. So it's basically what I've been talking about, where like we got to walk like half a mile to go practice on a field that's not ours. And Queensboro has to travel about 30 minutes to go practice on a field that their coach rents. And then we got to travel about 2 hours or an hour on a bus to go play on a field that, thanks to the QCC coach over there, who's a very good friend of mine, who's allowed us to rent that field. And that's where we play, so our guys are they're in baseball mode for 2 hours before a game. That's hard for a guy at a JUCO level to keep that intense focus for 2 hours. Meanwhile, a guy at BCC or KCC, it takes about 10 minutes before the game gets ready, walks out to the field and, gets into their pregame routine. Luckily, our late athletic director who retired recently, and with the help of Dakota as well, they worked out something so that we can take buses to the field, which that was a tremendous help. They're at home. That's the advantage. They have a home field advantage.
So you moved on to Queens College after 2 years school, played in 2013, 2014. Had a pretty good year 2014. You batted 300. But I wanted to ask you here, when it comes to the jump from the junior college baseball world to the collegiate level, the 4-year level, what is the biggest difference?
It's a huge jump, to be honest with you. But everywhere, those guys are super talented on that level. Guys are super dedicated. Guys have been playing for a long time. At Queens College, that conference, we played wooden bat. So that was a little different as well. And that was great. I don't believe they play wooden bat anymore. I'm pretty sure they play metal BB core bat now. But at the time, that was That was tremendous. Pitchers were great. I think the biggest difference is just the teams. There's a lot bigger teams, and guys. There's everyone can play. Everyone can play. Everyone's ready. It's a lot more competitive. It's just a different level. You got a lot more quality pitching, a lot more quality hitting. It's just a lot more consistency on that level.
I also really look at college baseball level. I would really put junior college in this too. You got to hit the baseball. We're not playing Billy Bean Moneyball where we're trying to draw walks and beat into a pitcher and get him into the pitch counts, because really, at the end of the day, you could have a top-tier starter at the 4-year level. You're lucky if he gets to 90 or 100 pitches. Most of the day, a third baseman pitches, he throws 50 to 60 pitches, and then they have a really good closer. When you go to that college level, I would believe you're constantly thinking about hitting the baseball. What was your approach towards hitting? Because to me, I feel like you have to be swinging.
Yeah, so at the time, while I was there, my first coach, Tom Sawinski, he was a very let's hit the ball, mash the ball, let's guys. He wasn't, I had this approach of going opposite field a lot, try to get singles, doubles, and he was much more just hit the ball hard and far, and then our second year there, we had a guy, Chris Reardon, who's a very good coach. I learned a ton from him. He was, I don't want to say small ball, but he was a lot more strategic. He tried to get things done and score, and whatever we needed at that time is what we needed to win the game. He wasn't one-sided. He wasn't biased towards anything. He wasn't let's bunt, play small ball today. Whatever baseball gives us today is what we're looking to take. But we're going to play hard and play super hard. And that's what I got from him, honestly. It was a very gritty team, and we worked really, really hard, ran the bases really hard, hit hard, threw hard. Everything we did, we had to do at 100%. And he never take anything less than that.
The other thing I wanted to kind of get into about Queens College, I mean, the workout schedule is definitely different from BMCC. What was it like to have the adjustment of the preseason training, hitting, if pitchers report, hitters report? It's definitely a bigger world than in the JUCOs.
Yes, definitely. I want to say we were very prepared there. We had strength conditioning coaches. We had coaches for everything there, honestly, for hitting, for pitching. We had our times. We had study hall. We had times allotted for strength training in the morning. We had baseball practice and then conditioning at night. And in between classes, we'd have study hall. We were very organized, so that was a little different. At BMCC at that time, it was tough. It was 2 coaches, and the head coach worked at the school, and he didn't have a lot of time to be with us throughout the day, but he'd be at practice while the assistant coach would work us out through the day and things like that. But at Queens College, our field was also on campus, so it was a 2-minute walk to the field, which was very helpful because we could go take batting practice on the field, long toss on the field, work out on the field, run the bases on the field at any time. We didn't need coaches there, but coaches would have one-on-one times with us there as well. So it actually helped me develop as a baseball player, and it's made me a much better coach today because it's showed me how to be more organized and, how to strategize. Guys have that an adequate time to recover for the next game, for the next practice. So it was a great time, honestly. It was very great for the team. It was great for team bonding. It was great for team development. It was a great time.
Joined here on our 4th installment of Inside the Lair with BMCC alumnus Jonathon Ramos, 2012, current baseball coach. Well, I'm going to now go to your professional career. You got your associates in criminal justice, and then you got your bachelor's in physical education. You're a trainer now at the Equinox. Why that change?
At the time, it was basically baseball. Baseball definitely guided that decision. At the time, looking for a 4-year school to move on to, the schools that were interested in me, none of them offered criminal justice. Criminal justice at the time while I was in school, it was a very limited major. Not too many colleges offered it. So I had to make a pretty tough decision because at the time I was very into criminal justice, and I had to make a decision as to what would be something that I felt that wouldn't be a tough transition, something that I would enjoy studying, something that I felt I can help with. And I wanted to coach kids. I wanted to coach. I wanted to work at a high school. And I thought that would be a great major for that. It taught me a lot about working with kids. My senior year there, I was able to coach women's basketball at a high school in Townsend Harris because of one of my professors. She gave me a great opportunity. And that was actually the start of my coaching career. And I think that was great. I'm very happy. I do not regret making that decision.
Coach, obviously, you also through text told me, speaking about basketball, you were an assistant on the men's basketball squad. What have you taken from that into coaching some really great men? Malik, Terrence McBride, Karan Dublin, Rayvon Fleming. I'm not going to go through the whole laundry list, but a lot of great men have come to this program. You're obviously recruiting, like Coach Guerin was, but he's the guy drawing up the plays. You have to kind of calm the guys down. Did you learn mentally how to deal with players?
Yes. I mean, I learned a lot from Coach Guerin. Coach Guerin is a tremendous coach. He's a tremendous man. He was. I was a pretty young guy when I joined him, and he's taught me a lot about handling young men and how to coach them and how to guide them to make better decisions and how to keep calm under pressure. That's learning from those guys has been phenomenal. Like a lot of different personalities, so you got to treat guys the same but a little differently. So it's been tremendous because all it's been is opportunities to grow and understand guys and girls and youngsters as to how they're developing and like how we can get them to the next level. And that it's been a pleasure, honestly.
Here with our fourth installment of Inside the Lair, our interview with BMCC alumnus. We're here with head baseball coach, Jonathon Ramos, and also an assistant coach on the basketball team as well. Coach, back to your major here. So you went into physical education, and that's obviously because of baseball. You work at the Equinox. See you lifting a lot of weights. I want to really get into your major here because I think you picked a good major. I mean, really, not just baseball. It's any major athletic area. Recovery, that's so important. What is your philosophy on what needs to be done here to build muscle, to stay lean? I mean, you can mention as many diets as you can as I looked at your Instagram page, but at the same time, I mean, it's become more important than ever today, recovery, what goes into a player's body. And I think that's why we see longevity with so many players playing as long as they have.
Yeah, I mean, nutrition is definitely a tremendous, huge part of recovery. It's like, I believe it's the biggest part. Then after that comes sleep. And then after that comes performance. Honestly, working at Equinox, I've learned a lot. I'm now a certified nutritionist, and I'm a certified functional strength coach. And I have a bunch of certifications, as you can know. But recovery is huge. It's super important to the athlete. And, every sport varies. It's a little different. The approach, the strategy to it is a little different. Some diets would be more beneficial to certain athletes than others would. Certain exercises would be more beneficial to others than others would. But it's definitely something that it's like to each person is going to be a little different. So that's something that, I would always say guys should consult with a professional, just because everyone's different and the sports are different. So the strategies to those sports are going to be a little different. That's something that I believe has been a blessing to me. I was able to work with different sports as I learned more about training and I learned a lot about the body. So I was able to combine all of them together and kind of come out with my own philosophy for each sport. As you know, I've also written a book on the keto diet, which I think is very helpful for athletes. And that's something everyone should check out.
Let's subtract 10 years from our age. We're still handsome, but young men. Baseball was a game really where it was all about bulk, how bulky you are. And I always kept saying to myself, well, it's great to see home runs, but, I grew up as a Yankee fan, and Tito Martinez would hit a lot of singles in addition to the amount of home runs. Same thing, and Derek Jeter, we love Derek Jeter, but they always were guys that put the ball in the play, and they seemed to be guys that weren't always bulky. I mean, what's the whole workout regimen for baseball? To me, guys look a lot more cut. It's not about bulk, big bellies. What do you see in that training?
So for baseball, I would say the strategy a lot more is power, work on power, explosiveness. So you get a lot of these workouts that are more not as many reps, but much more quality. You know, you can lift a little heavier, do single reps, 2 reps, 3 reps, 4 reps. It's all about efficiency and the quality of the rep, and recovery, because you want to also mimic the sport that you're playing. You know, so in baseball, you might swing the bat and then you won't swing the bat for another 30, 45 seconds, maybe a minute, who knows. So you want to kind of mimic that. You don't want to go in the gym and then practice something that doesn't translate to the sport. You know, like you might go in there and bench press and do 15 reps, and that doesn't really translate because you're not going to take 15 consecutive swings at a practice or a game, you know. So that's kind of the approach, you know. And then at that point, you can spend more time recovering. At that point, you can load more, so you can get stronger. So back in the day, I'd say the strategy was very similar, but also guys might have been spending a lot more time in the gym not recovering as well. So that's why you might see guys a little bulkier. Now guys take more time to recover and also include other things into their regimen, like yoga, doing cardio, other things, you know.
Why is sleep so important for the athlete? I understand for the average person, sleep's important. But the athlete, is it just your body gets a chance to recover and take in what you're putting into it?
Yeah, you know, you giving your body a shot to rebuild, to rejuvenate itself. So, you know, a lot of athletes work really hard, you know, and they're working 2, 3 times, 4 times harder than the average person. So they're burning a lot more calories. They're breaking a lot more muscle fibers. So they need more sleep than the average person, you know. Their nutrition needs to be better than the average person. They probably need to consume more calories than the average person. So sleep's going to be important because you're going to have to go perform, and you want to be fully recovered, you know. And that was something that, honestly, I believe back in the day, it wasn't something that was a huge focus of guys, because guys believe that, you know, they get the misconception that, like, not sleeping is working hard, you know, but sleeping is hard work as well.
Here with on our 4th installment of Inside the Lair, BMCC alumnus Jonathon Ramos of the class of 2012 and current baseball coach here. And he works at the Equinox. He lifts a lot of weights, physical trainer, guys, associates in criminal justice. Coach, let's go back here to your diet book. Why do athletes, why should they really read this? I don't know much about it. Please enlighten a layman like me too to it.
Yeah, so it's definitely keto is a high fat, low carb diet, you know. So a lot of athletes spend a lot of time in their fat burning zones, you know, because of the endurance aspect of things. So, you know, they spend a lot of time running, a lot of time on the basketball court, a lot of time on the field. So fat, when your body is used to burning fat and healthy fat, your body works a lot more efficiently, and you can burn a lot more fat as well. So that is something that I believe with athletes, it would sit a lot better, because athletes usually have long practices or long events, where games or matches or whatever it may be. I think it would be very beneficial for track athletes, basketball athletes as well, you know, because you spend a lot of time in that endurance phase. So the more proper energy you use, the better you can perform, you know. So if you on a keto diet, essentially you're on a fat diet. So if you're eating healthy fats, you have the proper fuel to get you through those events, you know. And as well, you know, you want to eat carbs as well, because you're going to need that for strength. But that's something that needs to be, you know, scheduled out and organized, so that when your schedule comes out, your game schedule, your workout schedule, you can coordinate all those things, so you can eat a sufficient amount of carbs on certain days, depending on your workout or depending on what event you're attending. And then, you know, your body will work more efficiently.
Well, I'm going to give you a final question, because you give me a lot of good stuff here. Yes, you do lifting, you help athletes, definitely you help the basketball team. But during the time of what we're dealing with right now, I mean, just how important is it for people to find some sort of exercise? I mean, it's getting colder here. We don't exactly live in Florida. Our website is given no equipment workout videos. But just talk about, you know, I see all those photos of you really with the people you work out with. It's, you know, you're not having that same type of connection. But how important is it for people to really just get some sort of exercise in mentally to keep themselves calm during these times?
Yeah, I mean, right now things can be a little frustrating. Some people want to get out and live their lives like they were living them before. It's dealing with change can be a little stressful. Not being able to have access to all the things you had before. So it can be a little stressful. So I think exercise is a great way to release some stress, to get your mind on certain things. It's also a great way to tune into your creativeness, and grow. It's definitely an area where you can accomplish certain things, and bring up your self-esteem and work towards certain things. It's also a way to like pass some time, and keep yourself healthy, especially the main topic right now is staying healthy, with the COVID and stuff like that. We want to be as healthy as possible so that anyone who is infected by it can recover from it. Anyone who's exposed to it can have a better chance of recovering from it. Those are things that are going to be very important. And it's something that we definitely need to focus on is our health. As you can see, moving forward, that's going to be a huge aspect of life, and the truth is, beyond that, it's, as you get older, you want to be able to continuously move. You want to be able to do things you were able to when you were young. So you want to stay healthy. You want to be able to move, exercise. If you have kids one day, you want to be able to play with those kids. You want to be able to show them how to play basketball, show them how to play baseball, and that's something that I think is a big part of people's lives. And, when you're not able to do that, like, it could be very hurtful and stressful and detrimental to your self-esteem. So that's something that, maybe for some youngsters, they don't think about right now. But in the future, that's something that hopefully they will consider, and even for older people, we want to live a little longer. This has definitely been a wake-up call for some people where, like, if you're unhealthy right now, this thing can kind of be detrimental to you. So, it's definitely something that we want to focus on, being healthier, so we're always prepared for whatever the world throws at us.
Thank you so much for joining us here at our fourth installment. Great words here from head baseball coach at BMCC alum, Jonathon Ramos. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.